in the future, just count from this year until 2017. Okay, I saw someone like earthquake and water, like it's not like flood, but it's like the water come up into the land.
Welcome back, folks. Today we're going to talk about something I've been digging into for a little while now, and I think at this point I'm probably up to something, you know what I'm saying? So in our earlier episode, we briefly mentioned Ryo Tasuki, right? We talked about her fulfilled prophecies as well as the crazy July 5th, 2025 prophecy, right? The Omega tsunami. So if you haven't checked that out yet, make sure you watch that video because it's good. All right, it's probably not the best time for me to make this video today because considering how close we are to July, but today we have another guest. We also have a Thai seer, Dr. Plai Navaracha, hope I didn't mispronounce that, stood out not just for her accurate predictions, but because it touches on deeper questions about the origins of consciousness and matter. So today, it's the same thing but different.
Same, but different.
The ocean around here, I don't know how to call in English, but it's the south of Chinese Ocean around here. We have to be careful a lot.
She's a little bit different, Dr. Plai, you know what I'm saying? She can see things. So today we're adding a special episode to dive into Dr. Plai's story, her prophecies, prayers, sacrifices, and even the science behind them. Again, science, you know what I'm saying? This channel does not give you BS. And again, it's completely up to you whether you think this is true. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm only sharing with you a possible future. I'm a Christian, all right? So I don't believe in, hey, I saw the future, or I dreamed the future, and this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen in the next 20 or 30 years. I don't believe that, right? Christians don't believe in that kind of prophecy, right? Except Jesus, right? We don't believe in anything else. But the thing is, do I want to wake up and find myself, somewhere in Thailand or Indonesia or in Japan when there's a huge Omega tsunami? No, I don't want to. So it can't hurt to know a possibility, that might affect my well-being. You know what I'm saying? So where do we start today? On March 28th, 2025 at 12:50 p.m. local time, a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar. The epicenter was just 10 kilometers deep, roughly 6 miles. In an instant, immense force ripped through the ground, tearing open terrifying fissures. Homes, temples, and office buildings collapsed en masse. Cars on bridge were sent plunging into rivers. In the capital city, Naypyidaw, the international airport control tower and cranes were paralyzed, shutting down all transport. Most of the country lost the power, effectively turning Myanmar into a global island. Just 12 minutes later, a 6.7 magnitude aftershock hit, making the disaster even worse. At that moment, many people recall Dr. Plai's prediction. In a TV interview back in December of the previous year, she said, "The gods showed me a vision. Something major will happen in the first half of 2025. Myanmar will experience an earthquake, even Bangkok will shake. People should stay alert. It's best to keep your valuables somewhere safe, like in a bank. If I had to be more precise, it will likely happen around March or April." At the time, the skeptics were quick to dismiss her. They pointed out that the earthquakes are extremely rare in Bangkok, which lies over 1,000 kilometers from Myanmar and not even on the same tectonic plate. Even many thought Plai would be exposed as a fraud. But then came March 28th. As Myanmar shook, Bangkok felt it too severely. Rooftop swimming pools spilled over like waterfalls. Plai had accurately foreseen the Bangkok tremor, a city where earthquakes don't happen. The next day, in another video interview, Plai said she had indeed seen the vision of Bangkok being affected, but didn't expect it to be this severe. Her intention was simply to remind people to secure their belongings and documents. She didn't foresee the devastation in full. She went on to issue another warning: be especially careful around water-related disasters next. Songkran, the Thai New Year water festival, could be dangerous. Sure enough, during mid-April's Songkran celebrations, torrential rains and flash floods hit Chiang Mai and Lampang, homes and buildings were swept away. At this point, Plai's predictions were becoming eerily accurate, so much to that some joked to Dr. Plai, please stop making predictions. Tourism is still our bread and butter. Plai Navaracha's gift didn't begin with the 2025 earthquake. Her startling accuracy traces back to 2014, the year her abilities truly awakened. That year, she made a series of astonishing predictions. In March 2014, shortly after Malaysia airline Flight 370 mysteriously disappeared, Plai was invited onto a talk show. The host asked her directly, what happened to Flight 370? When will we find it? Plai responded, the first piece of the wing will be discovered in about 14 months. As it turned out, after 16 months of searching, in July 2015, a wing fragment, especially a flaperon, was found on Réunion Island, a French territory in the Indian Ocean. While the timing was off by 2 months, the exact location of the debris, a piece of the wing matched her prediction with eerie precision. And the way it was found, it wasn't uncovered by deep sea search teams, but discovered by sheer chance, just as Plai has described. She had also said, after the disappearance of Flight 370, a large gray ship will appear on the water, but I can't see clearly when or which country it belongs to. Then, 39 days after the 10th anniversary of MH370, disaster struck again. The Seoul ferry in South Korea sank, originally a Japanese ferry named MV Ferry Namino. It had been repainted in blue and white after being sold to Korea and renamed Seoul. At first glance, the ship didn't seem to match the gray description in Plai's vision, but once it was salvaged and raised from the water, the hull had turned a dull ghostly gray from years of corrosion, just as she had foreseen. The same year, 2014, in a different program, Plai made another prediction. In the coming years, a severe virus will emerge, people will hide themselves away, even our faces will change. At the time, her words sounded vague and implausible. What could she possibly mean by faces changing? But then came the pandemic. Looking back, it all makes sense. Lockdowns forced us indoors, people hiding away, and with everyone wearing masks, our appearance, the way we presented ourselves to the world, truly did change. Plai's words, once cryptic, now felt hauntingly accurate. By 2021, she had become something of a household name in Thailand. People were paying close attention to her predictions. That year, she said, I see watermelons selling very well next year. There's a woman with long hair in a dress and oranges. The oranges have always been there. They'll get even more popular. No one understood what she meant. When asked for clarification, Plai replied, I can only use fruit as metaphors. If I speak too directly, it could be dangerous for me. Then in 2022, a tragedy occurred. Tangma Nida, a famous Thai actress, fell from a speedboat and drowned. Her nickname in Thai, Watermelon. The Thai entertainment world was shaking. Everyone, both inside and outside the industry, was focused on this one woman. And in a way, yes, watermelon sold well. As for oranges, Plai never clarified, but some netizens speculated she was referring to the Move Forward Party, Thailand's progressive political party known for its bright orange in branding. In 2022, the party gained momentum. By 2023, they stunned the nation with a landslide election win, capturing nearly 40% of the vote and becoming the largest party in parliament. So what do you think about this so far? I think the last one is probably a little bit far-fetched. I don't know, just feel like the fruit, watermelon, orange is just, I don't know, maybe this was very dangerous for her and it's the best way she could put it. But anyways, the next chapter is probably going to solve all of our curiosity and answer all your questions, right? First of all, how does she see things? You know what I mean? Because the last video we talked about Ryo Tatsuki and we know she has prophetic dreams, right? She can dream stuff. She can see stuff in her dreams. But what about Plai or Dr. Plai? Also, I'll explain a little bit later why she's a doctor, right? So what gives her ability or gives her power to see stuff? So the next chapter, let's take a look. Why does Plai Navaracha have these uncanny, almost terrifying prophetic abilities? She has spoken openly about it. Her story is strange, vivid, even unsettling. As a child, Plai often saw things no one else could. She described the same figures beneath street lamps, some still wearing school uniforms, yet their eyes were either pure black or pure white. She wasn't scared of them. To her, they were so ordinary as lampposts or power lines. In fact, for a long time, she assumed everyone could see them. She even recalled being lured away by some of these beings. Oddly, she felt no fear. It was only when an adult spotted her and intervened that she was rescued, but she hadn't felt in danger at all. These encounters continued until she was around 20, when she fell seriously ill. During a feverish, semi-conscious state, she had what she called a dream, but it was more than that. In this vision, she encountered three divine beings. Shiva, one of the three major gods of Hinduism, the destroyer and regenerator of the universe. Uma, also known as Parvati, goddess of balance and cosmic energy, and Yama, the god of death and ruler of the underworld. At first, it was Shiva and Uma who appeared. They told her, we have a task for you. You will be shown visions of what is to come. It is your responsibility to share them with the human world. But Plai refused. I'm stubborn, she later said. I don't do anything I don't want to, and I didn't want to see the future. Then Shiva and Uma said something cryptic. When you meet Yama, you will change your mind. And sure enough, sometime later, during another near-death episode, Yama appeared to her. She described him as a towering red-skinned figure wrapped in a cloth. At first, she was terrified. You're scary, she told him. Can you change into something more handsome? Yama agreed and transformed into a striking regal figure with a kind face. He even spoke with her gently and warmly. Then he took her on a tour of the underworld. She said he resembled a giant pot of boiling tom yum soup, red, bubbling, filled with layers upon layers of suffering souls. It was horrific. That sounds like a classic description of what hell looks like in Buddhism and in Hinduism, right? Like a huge boiling water with people inside and everybody screaming, that kind of picture, you know what I'm saying? And yet, even then, Plai didn't immediately accept the task. Years passed. Then, after returning from a diving trip in Australia, she suddenly collapsed. At a hospital, doctor issued a critical condition alert and rushed her into the ICU. Somewhere between waking and unconsciousness, time and space blurred. She couldn't move, just lay there, aware. And then, once again, Shiva, Uma, and Yama appeared. In that instant, she says, an unspoken flood of communication passed between them. There were no words, just understanding. And then one clear thought surfaced in her mind. I accept. The moment she accepted, she said a torrent of information poured into her consciousness. She felt lighter, her body began to move again, and when she woke up, the illness was gone. Within days, she was discharged from the hospital, completely recovered. The moment changed everything. From then on, Plai began her journey as a prophet. With the help of these divine beings, she eventually earned a PhD in Buddhist studies from Chulalongkorn University. Her path to that degree also unusual. She once said, I wanted to test the gods to see if my gift was real. So I asked them, if this is real, help me earn a doctorate. With nothing but intuition guiding her, she applied and miraculously, she got it. Plai Navaracha's early predictions may have involved missing planes and political shifts, but she didn't stop there. In fact, her very first televised prophecy was the most extraordinary of all, a long-term vision of Earth's future. She described a cycle of 8 disasters, split into 3 elements, 3 earth disasters, 3 water disasters, and 2 fire disasters. According to her, these events would reshape the entire world map. She added a chilling timeline. 78 years after the final disaster, the world as we know it will be completely changed. That broadcast was in 2014. At the time, she said one of the 3 Earth disasters had already occurred, a second would strike within a year or two. As for the water disaster, none had yet begun, but by July 15, all three would unfold. It was a lot to take in, but when you look back, many of the events she mentioned eerily align with what actually happened. Let's break it down. First, Earth disaster. Most believe she was referring to the 2011 Great East Japan earthquake. We mentioned this in Real Tatsuki Prophecy as well, a magnitude of 9.0 quake and tsunami that devastated the Tohoku region and triggered the Fukushima nuclear crisis. Second Earth disaster, likely the 2015 Nepal earthquake, a 7.8 magnitude tremor that killed thousands and destroyed entire villages. It fits her timeline exactly. The water disaster, the 2014 to 2015 Southeast Asia floods, which affected millions across Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Indonesia. Massive rainstorms drowned nearly half the region. Second water disaster, the 2014 sinking of the Seoul ferry in South Korea, which Plai had also separately predicted, a maritime tragedy that shook the entire nation. Third water disaster, the 2015 Pacific typhoon season. That year, a total of 27 named storms struck the region. 18 of them became typhoons and 9 were classified as super typhoons. The flooding and damage across East Asia were immense. So where does that leave us? As of 2025, 5 of the 8 disasters Plai predicted appear to have happened. That leaves only 2 fires still to come. And once those final fires arrive, 78 years, she said, after that the entire world will be redrawn. But redraw how? The idea of a shifting roadmap might sound like science fiction, but it's not new. While modern geologists favor the theory of gradual plate drift, many ancient philosophies and prophetic traditions speak of sudden dramatic transformations. In fact, Plai's prophecy echoes an old and strangely specific map, drawn in the 1980s by an American named Gordon Michael Scallion. Scallion claimed that during a near-death experience, he was visited by a non-human consciousness that showed him visions of Earth's future. Over 4 years, these visions guided him to draw a map of the post-cataclysmic world. On this map, most of the Pacific Ocean floods North America. California is mostly gone. The Great Lakes merge into an inland sea connected to the Atlantic. In Europe, only the Scottish Highlands remain of the UK. The rest of Europe and large parts of Asia are broken into fragmented island clusters. No unified nations, no central governments, just isolated pockets of land and people. Scallion later founded the Matrix Institute and sold maps and newsletters based on these visions. He claimed he wasn't working alone, that he felt guided by the spirit of Edgar Cayce himself. Then in the 1990s, another man named Al Bielek claimed to have traveled to the year 2137. He described a shattered Earth ruled by a single supercomputer called Llama AI, with humanity clinging to scattered patches of land amid a vast unpredictable ocean. Oddly enough, Llama AI is also the name of a cutting-edge artificial intelligence project currently under development by Meta. Coincidence, or are we all chasing fragments of the same script? Well, I don't know about Llama AI. All of these are interesting, but I don't know about Llama AI, because that could be like a genius plan, you know what I'm saying? Like a genius marketing plan from Mark Zuckerberg. Who knows? So the next big question is, are prophecies real? Can we trust prophecies? It's a difficult question to answer using science alone, but what if, instead of looking at superstition or blind belief, we approached it through the lens of ancient philosophy and modern neuroscience? That's where we begin. Just like the neuroscientist we discussed in previous episode, the one who proved the Buddhist concept of no self through brain scans. This chapter introduces another figure at the intersection of science and spirit. Her name is Anaka Harris. Even as a child, Anaka was fascinated by perspective. She would imagine, what would I feel if I were a rock, a blade of grass, a mother? Later, she became a respected writer and researcher focusing on consciousness, meditation, and philosophy. Her husband, Sam Harris, a well-known neuroscientist and one of the so-called four horsemen of new atheism, fiercely rational, deeply skeptical, But as the two of them continued their research, digging deeper into the nature of awareness, memory, and perception, they began to discover something surprising. The ancient Buddhist idea of no self might be real. Anaka once told a remarkable story. A close friend of theirs, a neuroscientist named David, built an experimental device that looked like a frozen popsicle. Test subjects would hold it in their mouths while wearing a brainwave reading helmet. The goal? To help blind people see again, not with their eyes but through neural signals transmitted via the tongue. At first, the device seemed ridiculous. Some blind participants were even offended, but after 6 to 8 weeks of training, something strange happened. They began to report that just before bumping into a wall, they'd feel something on their tongues like a warning. And by weeks 10 to 12, the tongue sensation disappeared, replaced by something new. A full 3D mental map appearing directly in their minds like Tesla's self-driving car visualizations. They could walk confidently, navigate rooms, even play basketball. Another neuroscientist, Dr. Peter Koenig, designed a different device, a magnetic belt that lets you feel shifts in Earth's magnetic field. After wearing it for a few weeks, he began to see magnetic spaces around him, almost like colors or textures in the air. He could tell instinctively where he felt safe or uneasy. He even said, "Walking a spiral staircase became the most beautiful experience of my life." These aren't just poetic metaphors. These suggest a powerful idea. The world we perceive is only as rich as our sense allow. If our eyes, ears, and skin are just filters for reality, then what if other creatures or even humans with different tools can see parts of the world that we cannot? That's where Anaka Harris goes deeper. She brings up experiments with plants. Yes, plants that appear to show behavior suggesting conscious preference. Take the data vine, a parasitic plant. When placed between two potential hosts, one it prefers and one it doesn't, it always grows toward the preferred one, even though it has no eyes, ears, or brain. Scientists later discovered that it detects electromagnetic waves and chemical signals. In other words, it's turning into something we aren't. Then there's the case of pea plants. In a Y-shaped pipe, scientists played the sound of flowing water through one arm. Even if no actual water was there, just a speaker. The peas grew their roots toward the recorded sound. Think about that. A plant heard water and moved toward it, even when it wasn't real. So, do plants have consciousness? Anaka and Sim Harris began to entertain a bold possibility that consciousness is not something emerging only from complex neurons, but a fundamental property of the universe itself. That would mean trees might have it, rocks might have it, even data and information might have it. This is panpsychism, the ancient idea that all things living or not possesses consciousness. And it's not just a spiritual idea. Many serious scientists have explored this. In fact, the 20th century quantum physicist David Bohm proposed the radical theory of implicate order, arguing that mind and matter are deeply interconnected at a quantum level. So what if consciousness is like gravity, an invisible force that becomes stronger as it gathers mass? A single human thought may do little, but what if millions of conscious beings think, feel, and pray the same thing? Could that become a gravitational force, not physically, but metaphysically? And what if that's the secret behind prophecy and even sacrifice? So, why do we make prophecies? Why are people so drawn to them, even when they fear what they might reveal? And why throughout history have humans performed rituals, prayers, even blood sacrifices, all to try to change what seems fated? Anaka Harris' research led us to a surprising conclusion. If consciousness really is a fundamental force like gravity or mass, then it's not just awareness, it's a force that can pull, influence, or even shape reality itself. Let's think cosmically for a moment. One star's gravity can bend space-time, but a single human consciousness may not so much. But what about a million minds? When thousands, even millions of people unite their attention, their emotion, their intention, is it possible that their combined consciousness exerts a kind of metaphysical gravity? Is this what ancient rituals and sacrifices were trying to harness? Maybe it wasn't just about pleasing gods or warding off disasters. Maybe it was about aligning countless minds to a shared image of the future and creating a gravitational pull strong enough to draw the future into being. Consider the logic. In a sacrifice, people come together. They feel deeply, they believe, they weep, they give. Their consciousness synchronizes around a singular idea. Let this not happen. And that focus change something. Plai Navaracha understands this. She once said, when I speak of disasters, it's not just to warn you, it's a responsibility. When you hear my words and feel afraid, when you pray that these things won't come to pass, you are already changing the future. In other words, the very act of prophecy generates its own position. By fearing the outcome, by focusing our energy, by imagining alternatives, we resist, we reshape. And the more people believe the same thing, the stronger the shift. So when Plai warned, don't go to Japan or Indonesia this summer, and when thousands prayed, please let nothing happen, they weren't just reacting, they were perhaps exerting a collective gravitational force on reality itself. It's the real meaning behind old saying like, sincerity moves heaven. When united, we can move mountains. That's the real secret behind rituals, sacrifices, and prayers across ancient cultures. Not the gods needed them, but that people needed to believe. When thousands of minds focused on a single fear or a single hope, something happened. A kind of invisible force formed, not physical, but not less real. You could call it spiritual gravity, collective will, shared emotional mass. Ancient civilizations may have called it fate. Today we might call it psychology or crowd dynamics or even social coherence. But the truth is, it behaves like a kind of energy. The more people believe something, the more they feel it together, the stronger it becomes. So perhaps when we speak of virtue, of ethics, of doing good, what we are really talking about is aligning our internal universe with external one, strengthening that invisible gravitational field of intention, which brings us back to now. Maybe the reason the world feels so unstable in 2025, the floods, the fires, the financial storms, is because this invisible net of virtue, of shared consciousness, has begun to unravel. But if enough people come together again, if enough minds remember what we care about, if enough hearts believe in a better world, then maybe, just maybe, we can shift to the future, not with brute force, but with gravity of spirit. Even a great flood can leave behind fertile soil. And this is the story of Plai Navaracha. From eerie predictions and divine visions to the neuroscience of consciousness and the lost logic of ancient ritual, her story reminds us that the future is not fixed. It is sensitive, responsive, alive. And maybe, just maybe, it listens when we speak to it. Thank you for watching. I love the last part so much, that the reality, it listens when we speak to it. It's kind of like what's written in the Bible, right? God made heaven and earth and everything by speaking it into existence. So probably that's just our reality. It's not just God, right? It's you and me and our thoughts united together. God made us in his image. So if all of us come together, right, all minds come together and imagine and feel, right, and see, because that's what, God made us for.